it's all you can think about is Star Wars when you see this. And that's like, when I was a teenager, that's the first time I read Dune. And like when I saw the Dune movie, it's like when I was a kid, the like 1984 one, Kyle MacLachlan, with Kyle MacLachlan and Sean Young.
A favorite of the Total Recall show.
Think, man, all these like iconic movies she's in, like such a legend. And then she was this close to being in, like she was in Batman, until like an on-set accident took her out of it. So like imagine that. Imagine being in Dune, Blade Runner, Batman. What I know,
Yeah, I love that little mouse. It's like its ears are two little moisture evaporators. Like I was like, how's the thing survive in the desert? And it's collecting the moisture.
Well, yeah, like so yeah, like as a kid seeing the old Dune movie, it was like, oh, this is a big ripoff of Star Wars. And it's like, oh no, it's actually, there's a book, and the book came out before Star Wars. Like, okay, yeah, whatever. And then when I was a teenager and I read the book, I'm like, holy shit. Like, it's got sandworms, like that skeleton that you see in the background of
Star Wars with that.
Yeah, in Star Wars when C-3PO and then just a desert planet, an emperor. There's like the emperor. He's like this young guy, and he's got like mystical powers that he can, that he uses to take down the Empire, and
You had mentioned before, like it's like all this stuff influenced Star Wars, and then it like feeds back around. It's like
right, because this movie is like very like Star Wars influence. So it's like too late, like the thing swallowed its tail, and I mean even like it was too late by the time we were born too. Like Star Wars kind of came in, and it's like this kind of like recycling and cross. Referencing and stuff, like it's just it's too far gone. But yeah, like the thing when you mentioned the thing about the mouse, that's what got me thinking about it. Because when I was watching this, I was like, oh, there's Womp Rats. It's the Womp Rats that he was bullseyeing with his teeth. And I was thinking like, oh man, those mice are pretty small. If that's what a Womp Rat looks like, then Luke, you're a crack shot bullseyeing them from your T-16.
Timothy Chalamet, like he shows him like waving outside of the T-16 Skyhopper.
Oh, by the way, we're talking about Dune, the new Dune, and the old Dune, I guess, but we're talking about the new Dune movie, and this is the Total Recall show. I'm Tom Scioli, author of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics, and Fantastic Four Grand Design.
I'm Matt Zeoli.
And you can check out my Patreon. Go to patreon.com, search Tom Scioli. You can follow me on Twitter at Tom Scioli, or follow me on Instagram at Tom_Scioli.
You can follow me on Instagram at cinema_tomb.
And, if this video goes up in time during the month of October, it's Jacktober, where we celebrate Jack Kirby with a list of Jack Kirby-related drawing prompts, if you follow me on like my social media or my Patreon. And so... either it's still going on or it's done, and you can go check out all the stuff that people came up with during it.
I love Jacktober; it's great. But I mean, sorry about earlier. Remember that blunder we did?
with Jack Palance Tober.
I'm red in the face about that.
So yeah, Dune. So Dune.
Dune, where's my car? Dune, where's my spice?
Yes, it was getting a little obnoxious because. Like I went to see the movie on Saturday night, and I was all set to see, and like all over social media and the internet, everybody's like posting their Spice World, they're posting all their like Dune jokes, and it's like and again, like I don't really have to worry about spoilers, I guess, because like I already know the story, but it's been a long time since I kind of like interacted with Dune. Like it's probably been like. I was probably like still in my 20s the last time I read it,
Wow, like the last time, before this, I think the last time I was vibing on Dune was when we did our Dune trailer coverage.
Yes, right.
before that, like you said, I haven't read it since. The first time I probably exposed to it was when I was in Boy Scouts. It was in like 8th or 9th grade at summer camp. This kid Max had brought Dune with him to summer camp.
Okay,
and was in his tent like. The whole week we're there, he's just like reading Dune. And I was like, what is this guy reading? I want to check it out. Like, he was reading it the whole time.
Did you did you grow up with the movie at all?
A little bit after. Like I watched the movie, so I went after the book in like 9th or 10th grade.
Okay.
And then at some point I watched the movie probably like either when I was like it's senior or just graduating or just getting into college.
Okay, because like...
I watched the movie... I didn't watch it when I was little.
Okay, yeah, see, I saw it when I was little, and it was like... Because it was like, okay, 1983, Return of the Jedi comes out, and then it's like, okay, when's the next Star Wars movie coming out? You're waiting, and then like 1984, Dune comes out, and it's like, oh, here's this movie that wants to be Star Wars so bad, but isn't.
I think I thought like I probably subconsciously was thinking that too, because like when I was little, I'd see like it'd be on TV or something, and I never like I probably was like I'm like Johnny Come Lately or Late to the Party.
It was and like so like it came out
being a dipshit.
And it got kind of blasted. Like I don't know that it did very well, box office wise or whatever, but I know it got like blasted by critics at the time. And I remember as a kid watching, like, I don't know if it was Siskel and Ebert or one of those like Siskel and Ebert ripoff shows, but they were like, oh, this movie, there's a million planet names and a million character names, and you can't keep any of them straight. And I don't, and so I was just kind of like, okay, sounds like a bad movie, I won't check it out. And then it like, came out on VHS and stuff, and I checked it out, and it was like super weird, and like Sting is super weird and stuff.
I remember I remember vibing. He has like a really like sharp cod piece.
Yeah.
It's like superpower. He's like, my superpower is I can have sex for 48 hours straight or whatever.
Well, that was the thing. Like when that movie came out, it was like, wow, Sting is scary, and I think he still kind of had like, it's like, is he like Billy Idol, or is he like a Johnny Rotten? Is he like like he kind of had that like dangerous like punk rock, and even though like we kind of from like a 2021 perspective, we can kind of tell the difference between all these different subgenres and things, and he's actually maybe more closely allied with ska, as odd as that sounds. But it was like, oh, this guy's dangerous. This guy might like bite the head off a bat or something, And so like in the movie, and when you're a little kid, so you're watching the movie and you're like, yeah, this guy's, and he like doesn't say much in the movie, and his eyes are like he just kind of it's just like got this like stare.
He's like, where's Andy Summers and Stewart?
And his his uncle, the uncle character, what's his name? Baron Harkonnen. Like he's like just out of control, crazy, weird, like oozing pus and stuff.
Great special effects.
So like, yeah, he is like steals the show, and he's like, oh my god, this guy's super creepy. But then like while he's like floating around and oozing stuff out of his face, Sting's just like. So like it's kind of like Sting's creepier, even though this other guy's doing like all the creepy stuff.
Yeah, because like I remember like the guy delivering his lines and like full pieces of KFC chicken like shooting out of his mouth.
Yeah,
while he's talking.
Well, they did that thing of that really smart thing of how like it's like disgusting hearing somebody eat on a microphone, or it's like disgusting watching somebody eat.
Yeah.
So like they do that. So like when the villain, like when the heroes are together, they're maybe like sipping water or something. Yeah. But when the villains are there, they're like stuff's flying. They're breaking the head.
Bring me the spice.
They're breaking the head off like a chicken or something and chewing on it. So it was pretty smart. Like again, like I mean, I'm talking a lot about the 1984 movie, but it is like when I was watching this new one, like that 1984 one
was right there.
It's like so iconic, and like I'm talking about like my early impressions of like the 80s one, but as I got older, I got really
I fucking love it.
Like,
and like last time I probably like fully like vibed. For some reason, we were talking Sting. I think I watched Free Jack with Mick Jagger, and I wanted to see more musicians in movies.
Yeah,
so I was
well, Sting was already like he kind of had a little career because he was like in Quadrophenia.
Yeah, like Sting should do more. Has he been anything?
I don't know. I mean, he like maybe if this thing didn't bomb, he would have gone on.
He's got a great look.
He's good in it. But yeah, like so yeah, like I mean, as time went on, I kind of like fell in love with like all this stuff. Like the original Dune movie, it like doesn't work. It's got all this like clunky kind of stuff. But like the stuff in it that does work is so amazing, and there's really nothing else that looks like it. And it is kind of like trashy and in your face, and hokey and like. Like the hamming, like just everybody's hamming it up.
God.
But it's like I reached a point where like I learned to love that, and love that so much more than like a movie that's maybe a little classier, a little more restrained.
And Kyle MacLachlan, I think one of his early superpowers before he like settled into his age, he's like unsettlingly like good, like handsome. He looks like he's like
a mannequin,
mannequin too.
Yeah, well, that was
it's in a good way for like what they're using him as, but it's bothersome.
Yeah, that's like Pierce Brosnan. When he first came on the scene, he was on a show, Remington Steele, and they like at that time in the early '80s, they were talking about him possibly being the next Bond, and it's just like he was like a mannequin. He was like too like perfect or whatever, and so they had to wait like 10 years for him to kind of like age into it, and then it's like, okay, now you can be Bond. Before you looked too you looked too lightweight to be Bond. Now you got a little bit of gravity, and so then he got to be Bond. But yeah, and Kyle MacLachlan, like that was, as far as I know, that was his first role, and he was kind of like an unknown. He was actually like not even like an actor prior to that. He was kind of discovered, that kind of like Lana Turner sort of discovery, and like it was great casting because the role of Paul Atreides, it's kind of what Anakin Skywalker was supposed to be like in the first movie. He was supposed to be a teenager. He wasn't supposed to be like Jake Lloyd. He wasn't supposed to be a little kid. Like he was supposed to be like a 15-year-old, like right on the cusp of kind of like somewhere between being a kid and being an adult, like on his way to being an adult. And so Kyle MacLachlan was kind of like perfect casting because he plays those scenes where he's like supposed to be like a 15-year-old, like he's supposed to be like this like innocent, young, sort of like bright-eyed and like eager for the world, and then also play like the older, like more mature Muad'Dib, who's like kind of world weary and like been through the mill and stuff, and like he's able to do both.
Great
of those
casting.
things.
Like I'm a Kyle MacLachlan fan. Then you got David Lynch cameo in there. He's like,
it's the David Lynch one, but yeah, like so like kind of like that movie was like whatever, and then like I read the book and like loved the book, and it was like, oh, like all the problems with the 1984 movie aren't present in the book because you have all this time to like explain the world and show how things unfold. Like really, I mean, like I'm such a fan of that old movie, and really like the only like problems with it are that like the first half is pretty great, and then the second half is kind of rushed. They have to fit a lot, and so that's like kind of where it suffers. Has a great ending, like really amazing, really, and it's just like disturbing. Like I think that's pretty great for like to have a sci-fi movie that's disturbing. Usually they're kind of a little clean and
Gary Cass too, like so coming out of the woodwork. You got Dean Stockwell, Sir Patrick Stewart,
amazing cast. Like this new one has a pretty great cast too. But like the old one, any science fiction movie with
Brad Dourif.
Well, any science fiction movie
isn't that right?
I don't know, but any science fiction movie with Patrick Stewart, it's
up.
It's like pre-Star Trek Patrick Stewart.
Yes,
and he plays like a tough guy in it.
Dean Stockwell,
plays Gurney Halleck,
pre-Quantum Leap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Like all these people, like went on to like sort of like iconic roles. I was like after I saw this new one, I had to go home and like watch the old one, and it's like when you get like 60% through the old Dune, that's like where this new one ends. So like the next 40% of that movie is what this whole sequel is going to be. So it's like you can imagine like like they just kind of had to squeeze like a whole movie's worth of stuff into like 40 minutes, for 40% of a movie.
Because this one at the beginning it said like part one.
This is part one. It's part of a sequel. No. Who knows if I don't think a sequel's gonna get made. No. I think this is like Snake Eyes. I think, and again like another Total Recall movie where we're promised a sequel and never get one.
That's a running joke. National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon 1,
or it'll just be like way scaled down. Like
they're like Denny. Your budget's gutted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean it's got to be because this was initiated in a completely different era, and so it'll be interesting. I mean, it's fun. Like maybe Dune's just one of those things that's kind of cursed.
Oh God, the curse of Dune.
But it did seem like okay, now we're gonna get like the definitive Dune, like that old one. great, awesome, so much fun. Now we're gonna get the one that's like true to the book, is like weird but not too weird, you know, like this kind of stuff. You know, so this is what we have, and I guess you know, we're waiting to see both parts before, you know, but
I love it, man.
Yeah.
I'm like, I think Timothée Chalamet like is a great actor. He like has such a weird look. His head is like, it's like he's like a 20-sided die. It's like he looks different like from every angle, and
you know, like the casting is key, and like you know, Kyle MacLachlan in the 80s Dune, like so perfect, spot on, great. You know, one of the things that like really like works and is a home run in it. And same here, like the new Paul Atreides
is awesome.
You know, really great. Yeah,
he just looks like a different person from like every angle. I'm like, he's such a interesting looking actor. His delivery, he's like, I'm a fan.
Yeah, it. Yeah, like this. I mean, this movie, like again, like I enjoyed it all the way through. Like I was like, you know, really into it, and great. You know, just like seamless special effects.
Oh,
and the pacing of it and the tone, and you know, the action scenes are really cool, and it's very convincing. Like the world they create is very convincing.
I'm always wondering. It's like this is the year 10,000 XXX whatever. I'm like, what is still lurking around? I'm like, they still use pillows. They have candles. They're like bagpipes are still a
bagpipes.
thing.
Yeah, like it's kind of like cultural things have endured, and that was like they talk about in this. He talks about like, and like there's all these visual references to it, but then he even like mentions it, like, oh, you know, grandfather used to fight bulls for sport. Like bullfighting is in this, and like they have a painting of his grandfather hanging up, and he's like dressed in like the traditional bullfighting outfit, and I don't remember that from the book. I mean, it's probably from the book, but maybe it's not. Like I don't remember. It's been a while. I don't remember that from the book, and I thought like, okay, maybe the director's into bullfighting, or maybe it's the thing of like they want like the 80s Dune communicated a lot of information, and it was like very heavy-handed, which is some of the stuff that is kind of like fun to parody, and then some of the stuff that makes it like very memorable and kind of cool is just like how heavy-handed. It's like the words and the spice are connected, you know, that kind of stuff.
What is the line? Is like by will alone I'll set my mind in motion.
Yeah, all this great stuff. Yeah, like all that. There's a lot of information, and this movie, I feel like it doesn't communicate as much information, you know, because it is kind of like paced differently and more naturalistically, but it does kind of like introduce information in maybe like more subtle ways. And so I'm thinking the idea of showing the bullfighting thing is to establish that like this isn't Star Wars. This isn't a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. This isn't some other, you know, culture that this is like Earth. You know, this is
beyond.
You know, part of our history becomes this. So like you're going to see bagpipes and you're going to see bullfighting. You're going to see these like little things that remind you of like, oh yeah, this is like us in the future. You know,
it's so cool.
Which again, like in the books. Like that's what's so cool about the books is like it's just, you know, it's just a different medium, so it's so thorough. So all the politics and all the history and all these like ideas and stuff, you can sort of take all the time in the world to explain them in a way you can't in a movie, you know.
I'm definitely gonna reread this book after that. I'm gonna rewatch the '84
right.
Dune. Like I was pretty immersed in. I'm still immersed in the swamp, the land of
You're
swamp,
still in
Swamp
Thing, yeah.
Thingville, and now I'm in Dune Haven.
Dune Land. Yeah, and Dune, like putting it side by side with Eternals, like it's got a similar look, and it's you know, for good or ill, it's got kind of like a desaturated, you know, it's almost like a black and white movie, you know, like and Eternals kind of looks that way too. And so like this movie, like as much as I was enjoying it, I did like, you know, the Baron Harkonnen from the old one pops in my head, and like the sets and the shields, like the shields in this are pretty cool, but in the old one the shields were like these like big cubic Tron kind of, and like you turn into like a big blocky Gumby, you know, and then like Duncan Idaho like kind of runs and he, you know, with his shield on and then jumps onto the Sardaukar and stuff. You know, it's like it's hard to make a movie that has been done, you know, by David Lynch. You know, it's hard to kind of like put your thing next to it, and that's like the only way this thing kind of suffers is that you have that direct comparison, and like the original Dune was so over the top, and everybody's screaming and hamming it up, and it just kind of like, you know, this dude's a little boring. Like it's a little boring. Like could use a little color. Like the other, like first, like all the Harkonnens in the old one, they were all gingers. They all had these like shocks of like bright red hair, and it's like, you know, and they're all and like and Baron Harkonnen, he's getting all these because it's like fashionable to have different diseases in your face, so he's getting all these diseases injected, and they're all oozing and stuff. And he's like floating around and screaming in everybody's faces, and like the Baron Harkonnen in this is like barely a presence.
I like,
you know.
Now that we're talking about that old dude, man, it's ham level 11, baby.
Yeah.
Wow. Holy shit! Like, and then in the new one, you're right. The Baron Harkonnen, like, it looks like they're like come from a planet full of
a planet full of Marlon Brandos.
Brandos from the island of Dr. Moreau.
Okay, yeah, because I was going to say Marlon Brando from Apocalypse Now. You know, just kind of, you know, that's kind of it. Now that you mention that does seem like what his Baron Harkonnen is like, you know, Brando, like a Brando riff, and yet like watching it's like, you know, you bring so much baggage to a Dune movie, and I guess they already assume that, like, you know certain things about it. Like, I think if you, like, never saw this movie before, you might not even know that he's the villain, because he's so underplayed and subtle and, like, barely in it. You just kind of see him here and there. Where, like, in the original, like, he's screaming at the top of his lungs, like, I'm the bad guy, whoa! You know, and great. Like, it's fun to make fun of it and stuff, but it's, like, so great. And even like the Emperor in the original one, he's like, you know, bring me the floating fat man, you know, and then he like comes in and, you know,
he's like, bring me Jake and the fat man.
Yeah, so it was like I just like I'm watching this, enjoying it, but I keep like, because they are kind of like unforgettable. Like they keep popping in my head, and like I was like, when I left the movie and stuff, like one of the people that worked there was like, oh, you know, how'd you like it? And I said, yeah, I thought it was good. I'm like, did you see it? And she was like, no, I haven't seen it yet. I said, but man, it's like making me like really want to go see the 80s one. Like that's the first thing I'm doing when I get home is like firing up the 80s one.
And he's like, bring me the fat man.
yeah, and it's like, you know, he who controls the spice controls the universe. You know, like you said, he's got
have some of this.
Yeah, he's like spitting like Kentucky Fried Chicken out of his mouth, and like everybody's got these like, and this was in the book too. Everybody on like on Gady Prime, the planet of the Harkonnens, have these like little like drain plugs on their chest that you can like pop out, and then just like blood starts shooting out. Like it's pretty over the top and pretty, and like, you know, it's like, okay, well, we're going to do the classy Dune. And it's like, okay, well, good luck with that. You know, like,
oh, God, here comes a ship. It's coming from Brando 5.
Yeah, like, the designs, like, the designs in the old one are, like, so tacky. Like, every, you know, but, like, so 80s. Like, so, and, like, just nothing looks like that anymore. And it's,
Patrick Stewart.
Yeah. Patrick Stewart's got a mullet.
Oh, I know.
A skullet. And, you know, and watching the 80s one, it is like the companion piece to the Flash Gordon movie. Like it's got
what a double feature.
Same kind of look, same kind of like shitty special effects. Like special effects are so much fun, and I love the worms in the old one. But
he's like hanging off of it.
Yeah, great like shitty special effects, and the music, because like the music, I think in the original Dune, it was Brian Eno, I think.
Was it Toto?
Maybe it was Toto. I'll have to look it up. But it's like this. It's like it feels like they were like, okay, you saw the Queen, you heard the Queen soundtrack for Flash Gordon. Give me that.
Whoa,
you know?
Yeah, you're right. It's like back and forth between.
Let me look it up real quick. I mean, you're probably right about it being Toto. For some reason, I had it in my head that it was Brian Eno, but maybe you're right. It is kind of like when you see two of the same thing sort of side by side, it kind of makes you appreciate the differences. So like I loved the old Dune movie, but I had like more of an appreciation after seeing this for it. But then it also kind of, you know, give me an appreciation of what this does right too. Like the fight scenes in this are like really well done. It is kind of like the movie kind of like flows, and it kind of like you get into its rhythm.
The pacing you mentioned was great. And I remember you were cracking me up before when you were talking about Jodorowsky. Being like,
it's shit. It's shit. But like Jodorowsky, like, I mean, yeah, I've seen Jodorowsky movies. Like, his, like, whatever complaints people have about the old Dune movie, like the Jodorowsky one would have had that times 10. Like all the stuff that, like, his would have been way trashier, way more insane. It would have made less sense. Might have been great, might have been awesome, but it wasn't gonna
it's so funny he said
it's shit. It's great. It's shit. But like everybody, it's like, okay, we just saw Star Wars. We just saw Return of the Jedi last year. Let's see your Star Wars. And it's like, wait, this isn't Star Wars. And it took a while for people to realize, like, oh, you can't really do Star Wars. Like even George Lucas kind of couldn't do Star Wars again. Like it was just kind of like people thought like, oh, okay, we can sort of expect Star Wars from now on. We're going to get like a Star Wars or a Star Wars kind of movie every year. And it's like nobody could do it. Yeah. Nobody could do it. You'd have like The Fifth Element. And again, all these movies have like aged incredibly well. Like all, the weirdness of The Fifth Element, the weirdness of Dune, like looks amazing in 20. The weirdness of Flash Gordon. All these movies have aged extremely well because cinema, like sci-fi cinema, has gotten like blander over the years, and like this stuff was just
some of that stuff. It's like you don't know what you have in the moment.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I realized, like thinking about Star Wars, like the bland look that this movie kind of has, and sort of, the bland look that like sort of the trailers for the Eternals have and stuff. That bland look comes from Star Wars. Like prior to Star Wars, a sci-fi movie had like intense color, crazy design, where Star Wars was like, oh, let's make it a little more classic. Let's give everything. If you look at it, there's very little color in Star Wars.
You're right,
especially like the first two. Like color.
That's why the R2, the blue on him pops, because you're not...
exactly. Like the little bit of color that does, like when the X-wing pilots show up in their like red or orange or whatever outfits, but like everything up to that point is like beige, gray, black, white. There's just like a tiny bit of color. Even the lightsabers in like the first one, they're not like bright blue, they're not bright red. They're pretty much just white with like a little hint of like the color that they are. And it's not until Return of the Jedi that color really gets introduced with like the Max Rebo band and Endor. That's when you start to see color really. So it's kind of like Star Wars kind of changed the aesthetics of science fiction movies after that. So then you do like this new Dune has way more in common with Star Wars. The design is very Star Warsy. It's very like a lot of like greeble and just, and again like almost like a monochromatic look.
You're right. Like like the city elements when they're on Arrakis looks like kind of like what's the main city in Coruscant or whatever, like temple.
Coruscant, as Anakin would say, as Jake Lloyd would say, Coruscant.
Yippee, we're going to Coruscant.
It looks a little like Mos Eisley. Like whenever they show in some of the other stuff, like maybe not in like the first Star Wars, but when they show like in I don't know, maybe it was in Phantom Menace or something, but like, or maybe in some of the video games or something, they show you like more of like an extended view of like what kind of stuff's going on in like a Tatooine city. Kind of look like that.
Yeah.
I mean, the comparisons, like we could do a separate video of just like the Dune to Star Wars comparisons, and maybe it would be worth doing.
That'd be sick.
But like,
there's a Jawa on a Ronto. Look, it's bucking or whatever.
Yeah. You know what? Well, because like the Sand People are the Fremen, like all this stuff. But like,
and Brian Eno did the music.
Oh, Brian Eno did. Yeah, Brian Eno and Toto. Okay, so
it's a double.
Right. Yeah, because it felt like the Queen soundtrack. So from Flash Gordon. But like, it was like when Lucas did the prequels, he was kind of like, okay, I'm going to change up the aesthetic and I'm going to add a lot of color. It's going to be really colorful and really like garish and it kind of and people are like. Like we want the dusty, crusty universe that like you made famous, but it is like, watching the old Dune, it does look so much more like the prequels, like the 80s Dune, and like Princess Irulan, who's like the daughter of the Emperor in Dune, in the old one, like she looks like Amidala, it's like, and all the little entourages and stuff.
Rick Olay comes up, shows up. He's like, he's like, Anakin, get in your the yellow. What I don't remember what those were called. They're like,
I don't know what anything's called in that movie. Like, did you notice in this new Dune? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but Sting's character isn't even in it.
I didn't see him in there.
And Sting's like Fade Rautha, the nephew of Baron Vladimir Harkonnen. Yeah.
He shows up and he's like, "It's a nasty for a one way."
yeah, Billy Idol plays him. He's not even in it, so like I don't know if like because maybe they're gonna what's his name, Batista.
Oh, Dave Batista.
Yeah, maybe Dave Batista is kind of like maybe they don't have Fade Rautha anymore, so just like I forget what his character. What was his? I can't remember. It was something Harkonnen. It was, but maybe Dave Batista's character is just going to kind of take on Sting's character too. Like maybe that's who Paul Atreides is going to have to fight at the end instead of fighting.
He's
Sting.
like, "I'll see you at SummerSlam."
yeah. Like I mean, and I could see that being interesting. Like that, but that is an interesting take to kind of like Maybe they viewed his character as being like a little. Was it Raban?
Yeah,
Raban. Yeah. So Raban was like Dave Batista's character, and so yeah, maybe Raban and Fade are getting like smashed together because like in story terms, maybe they're a little redundant. I don't because they're both but or the other thing I'm thinking is. He's breaking it up into two movies, so maybe it would be a really cool reveal for the second one.
My gosh!
Here's Fade Rautha. Here's he shows up and like he hasn't cast him yet, so like it's like we're gonna find whoever's like the coolest dude of them, like the Sting of 2025 or whatever.
Is it Harry Styles?
Well, I mean the guy doesn't exist yet because the movie's coming out in 3 years, so he's probably looking now, or maybe he'll be looking a year or two from now to see who the hot shit is. To be. The thing I'm thinking of, I'm not up on, I'm not up and I'm not down. Like I'm not I'm not very like keyed into like current music. But the thing I could think of is like. There's this band called the Lemon Twigs that are real good, and I think
those are awesome.
I think they're probably like 20. It's like two brothers, and I think they're like in their early 20s or whatever. So like maybe one of those guys
from the Lemon Twigs could
be Fade Rautha in the new one.
Denny Villeneuve, he cast Pete Davidson.
Pete Davidson could be. Yeah, he could do it. I mean, I can't wait to see who he casts because like that character and Sting are so like. Again, like intense, iconic, and kind of like represent like the frightening youth. Like that's who he represented back then. Like as strange as that is, because it is like it's hard to get out of your. Because like there was a moment where Sting was kind of like, who is this guy? He's wild or crazy or whatever. And then it's like he's if I ever lose my and it's like okay, this guy's lame.
I know it's so awesome. I love it. He's like the coolest cutting edge on shit. Right. And he's like he releases 10 Summoner's Tales.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and it's like okay. I mean that movie might have even.
I was like. He's like, what's it called? He's like, Desert Rose.
You know what? Dune might have even come out before Every Breath You Take. Like, it might have just been, when the police, were like, I'm trying to think of, like, what some of their we were born in the 50s, that kind of thing. I don't know which version of the police was real big back then.
Now I'm gonna have to listen to Lemon Twigs again. You turned me on to that band. Great band.
Yeah.
But they're like they cast Jesse Camp from MTV. He's like they're like we need to tap into the youth. like who's the cutting edge? Like who represents the youth? And it's like Jesse Camp from. I think did he win like some Vijay contest or something? He's He's like, it's me, Jesse. He's like, what's his character's name?
Fade Ralpha. Yeah.
He's like, they're like, everyone's all serious at like the Comic-Con, or they're at like the table, and they're like, we're introducing Fade Ralpha. It's Jesse Camp.
Yeah, because that does make sense to me dramatically to be like, okay, if you're going to have to wait 7 years or whatever it is for the next one to come out, you know, it might lose a little steam if you kind of like introduce this guy, like save him for the sequel, and then it's kind of like he's like, you know, the Boba Fett or whatever. He's like the new guy coming in where you're like, oh, who is this guy? And yeah, I mean, and you know, and kind of like, you know, build him up in that one, like kind of introduce all this stuff here, and then build him up in the second one. I don't know,
dude. I can't wait to watch the next one. I hope it comes out. I know, like.
I'm thinking it might. I'm thinking we might. You know, like I don't know. Like I think Dune, like movies just are different now. But I'm sure it'll have some kind of life. It's just not. I don't think it's going to be like as, you know, as planned, or like I think it's gonna. You know what it's going to be like. George Lucas, you know, had that plan of Splinter of the Mind's Eye, where he was like, okay, if Star Wars comes out and it bombs, I have this script ready to go that'll be like a low budget sequel that won't cost as much that we can do in case Star Wars bombs. Like I think that's what's going to happen here.
Yeah,
is we're going to get like the like shitty cheapo, but like it's gonna not quite look as good as the Sci-Fi Channel Dune that came, you know. Which isn't bad. The Sci-Fi Channel Dune was pretty cool too, but it you know, it was definitely like, you know, had that made for TV look to it.
They're like, it's coming out. It's on Crackle.
It's like it looks like Babylon 5. It's got like recycled Babylon 5 special effects.
Babylon 5, but they just took out like the scenes on the ship. It's just all the outer space stuff.
Yeah, it's all like, pasted together. All this like you know, very raw CGI. Or everything's like super shiny. Or they do like a re-edit of the David Lynch.
Oh my!
You know, and that's part 2.
Or there's that show on Fox, Earth 2. Mm-hmm. You remember that? Just like
they're
like, well, we got this old pilot from the '90s laying around. We're gonna repurpose it.
Yeah, like, just looking at that cast, it's. I mean, the thing everybody's talking about with Dune is Jason Momoa, like, because he got to be like the bad. He was like the Han Solo of this, you know.
I loved his. I thought that was like the best acting I've seen Jason Momoa do in a movie.
Yeah, really good, and he got to have. And again, it's interesting breaking up this story into 2 movies because, you know, I guess it is kind of like Star Wars. Like, Paul Atreides is just kind of like learning stuff, so it's like all the people around him at this point are doing all the, like, they're all the grown-ups, and he's the kid who's kind of like watching and learning and showing promise, but like, you know, the grown-ups are having all the big action. So like Jason Momoa gets, you know, and it is kind of like Star Wars if you think about it, like, you know, the first half of Star Wars, and Luke is kind of like just like gee whiz, you know, like he does little things here and there, but it's mostly like gee whiz while the grown-ups are talking, and then it's like, you know, he gets to kind of you know, have some heroic moments on the Death Star, and then when he gets in his spaceship and blows it up, then it's like, okay, this guy's the hero of the thing, but he has to kind of like work his way up to that, and so like that's what Paul's doing here. He's working his way up. So Jason Momoa gets to be like Han Solo or whatever. Like, here's the grown up, here's the badass, and in the book, you know, it's kind of like here, it's like Duncan, Idaho, Duncan Idaho.
What a great name.
Yeah. He looks up to him, and he's so great, but in like the 80s movie Duncan Idaho, it's the same thing. It's like got this build up. He's like, Duncan, I'm so glad to see you. But like, he's kind of like forgettable. Like, nothing against the guy who plays him, but he's kind of forgettable. Like, they should have had Patrick Stewart play Duncan Idaho, because then you'd be like, oh my god, there's Duncan Idaho! You know, but instead, the guy's like a little bit forgettable. Like, you know, he's just not, you know, where in this, it's like, okay, this is the Duncan Idaho that gets the big build up and gets the big build up in the book and stuff, and he's here. And in like the sequels, in like the book sequels and stuff, like Duncan Idaho is such a major character that, like, even though he dies here, in the sequels, they like have a clone of Duncan Idaho who comes back and it's like, yeah, Duncan Idaho's back. So like, you know, just being like a fan of the old movie and stuff, I never got like, okay, well, like why don't they clone Patrick Stewart instead? Because like he's so
They
much cool, you know. But here it's like, okay, I get it. Like if they do end up making like a Dune 4,
please clone
or
him.
whatever, it's like of course they're gonna clone. They might even clone him for part 2, even though the clone of Duncan Idaho doesn't show up in the second half of.
They gotta clone him. Like there's the. There's this movie called Beer Fest. It's from Broken Lizard, and then like the same guy plays his brother. Like the one guy comes back later in the he dies and then comes back.
Hey, I mean, speaking of, this is kind of like the Many Saints of Newark, which has a similar plot twist, but also like the Many Saints of Newark. Paul Atreides in this is kind of like Tony Soprano in that, because again, it is kind of like the grown-ups are doing is that he's in the mix, but like the grown-ups are doing doing their thing. So
the Duncan comes back. They're like, Paul, we got some good news. He's back, Duncan Idaho.
Duncan Idaho, yeah. He's back. Yeah, like the sequels, it'll be interesting to see the sequels, because like it did, which was like, I guess the early 2000s, maybe the late 90s, early 2000s. And the first movie is like the first book of Dune, is the first movie. And then the second movie is all the other Dune books. Because that's the thing, like the Dune sequels are kind of lightweight, but if you put them all together, like the second Dune movie on Sci-Fi Channel was actually pretty cool, because like if you squish all the Dune sequels into one movie, it's a pretty heady brew.
Dude, I gotta check those. They have to be floating around out there somewhere. I'll have to track them down. The sci-fi ones.
Sci-fi ones.
Someone's always doing the Lord's work and uploading them to like YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, again, like, you know, the world's kind of going through Dune mania right now. So, yeah, and I am too. I'd like to check it out. That was another like. Watching this movie, it's kind of like, you know, like I know where it's going, I know what's coming up and stuff. So it's like watching this movie. It's kind of like watching it and like kind of remembering, like kind of knowing the things I know about Dune and knowing the things I know about this movie. Like, okay, this is just part 1. We're not going to get. And I was kind of thinking, like, you know what? Star Wars is almost like the perfect adaptation of Dune, because it's like, okay, we're gonna take out this boring stuff here and we're just gonna, and you know, we're gonna get to some, you know, we're gonna make like a fun movie using, you know, the elements. And I was kind of thinking, like, I kind of wish they'd do that with this Dune, like be like, okay, all you fucking assholes who read the books, we get it, you know, all, and yeah, this is, but fuck you. This movie's for everybody else, and we're just gonna tell like a super cool story, and like if you're lucky, maybe you'll recognize a couple bits from it. But we're just gonna, you know. And I was kind of wishing, like, okay, let's take the Dune soup and then just like mix and match and make like as cool a thing as you can, and just throw out the boring stuff or whatever, you know.
I'm like, you're in the theater. I'm like, I read the Dune book.
Yeah, right.
I want this to be that thing.
Exactly. It's like it kind of like we're in this, you know. It's like Dune came out in like the '60s. It's like, you know, it's like it's 2021. Like you don't have to be beholden to some like old book just because, you know, some fucking nerds are gonna like yell at you online. You know, just like tell us cool. Like take all, because you could take these elements and just like amp it up. You know, like you know, give us, you know.
The Dune nerds are gonna like
yeah, and that's kind of what Star Wars did. It was like we're gonna take all the cool stuff from Dune and then like, you know, add in a bunch of, you know, crazy stuff too. You know? There's like the ornithopters, and like in the book they talk about the ornithopters. They're kind of like bug-looking helicopter things. Nailed it here. They didn't really kind of attempt it in the 80s one. In the 80s one they were just kind of like these generic spaceships. I mean, not generic, but because nothing in that old Dune is generic, but they were just kind of spaceships. But in this, they nailed the ornithopter. And again, like we've had like since the 80s, we've had like Dune video games and stuff. So like the video games have kind of gotten, you know, some of these like, you know, elements.
That ornithopter, like, man, that'd be cool to have around now. Like, of course, it's like, yeah, if only we had the power energy to like implement a bug design, like effectively, it's like a dragon.
It was kind of cool seeing like all the like wings break off a couple at a time and stuff.
Yeah, or you can like on the feature where you can like stop the wings and like dive in it. I was like, and then start it up again. They're like,
you know, that old movie, like the again, like, you know, the shields are cool in this, but the, you know, and the voice is cooler. But in the old movie, it's like the voice where it's like, that kind of cut my mother.
I know that was creepy.
Yeah.
He's like,
and in the like they don't have it here, but like in the original Dune, Paul's sister is born, and she's like the new Reverend Mother of the Bene Gesserit, and she's got like all these. She's like this little kid, and she's got all these. And she's like, don't pick up the voice. It's like, it's like real like The Omen or something.
Oh, it was scary. He's like, cut his throat.
Mm-hmm.
Cut his throat. Remove the gag.
Yes.
Stay. Wait for my brother.
And then, like I was just watching it, so like, she's like, come here, Baron Harkonnen, and it's just this like little kid, and then she like pokes him in the neck with the gum jabber, and then he like floats away and gets eaten by a worm. Like just the old, like the old Dune, like the Chucky, the guy who played the voice of Chucky,
Brad
and
Dourif.
and who played the ghost that gets inside of Chucky, the
Charles
murderer.
Lee Ray.
Yeah, like he's in the old Dune. Like, how do you
huge
compete with
eyebrows?
that? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and he's doing like all these like hand movements. You go find them now. And he's like stroking his eyebrows.
They get
the something like it gives the juice gives speed to thoughts.
That's the line. Yeah. The juice
gives speeds to thoughts. It brings color to the lips. The color is a
with will alone. I'll set. That's the second part of
will
that.
Alone, I'll set it in
my motion.
The juice brings the stains. The stains are a reminder. Like all that stuff. So great.
Yeah, it's like you're at the laundromat and you're like, this guy's over here saying that line, like he keeps talking about. Oh God, the juice brings the stains. I say that monologue at
when
the
you're
laundromat.
at the laundromat. Yeah, that's awesome. They changed like the death of Leto Atreides in this, and again, like, I don't remember from the book. I think the book was like closer to like the '80s movie, where it's like he he bites the tooth, and then there's like the gas in it, and then he blows it in Chucky's face, thinking that he's blown it in Baron Harkonnen's face, but he blows it into Chucky's face, and then Chucky dies, and then he's like, "Am I alive? Am I alive? I'm alive!" But in this, it's pretty cool in this new one, where it just like the gas just fills the room.
That was awesome.
And kills Chucky, but kills everybody else too. And then Baron Harkonnen is like only saved because he has his shield up, and he's like stuck to the ceiling, which is kind of cool. All like covered with crust.
Leah, I like how he like floated over the table too.
Yeah.
There was that to get the spy. He's like set him free.
And
is that a Sarsgaard?
Yeah, Soren Scars, not Peter Sarsgaard, but Soren Skarsgård. Yeah, but that was him. Yeah, and good cast. Like, he's good. I just wish, they would have given it, like, let him. Like, I'm sure he would have loved to have done some of that stuff that like the guy did in the old one. Like, I'm sure he like when he accepted the role, I'm sure he thought he'd be doing like these like 0G backflips as he's like pulling stuff out of people's chests and like biting people.
The Denny's like, all right, you have to eat this bucket of wings. Now blow it into Oscar's face.
Yeah, like, yeah, like it's kind of, like that part it comes up a little short, in this one. Like,
dude, I'm going whole hog on 84 after this video.
It's like not a flattering like the 80. It's like if I had to choose between the two, this new one's going in the garbage.
It's going in the dumpster.
Like, it's cool and all, but what can I tell you?
I'm so glad that 84 Dune's on HBO Max too. Yeah, they're like Blandy McBlanderson. From the planet Forgettable. Yeah, talking about the 84 Dune, right? Like, bumped up against this.
Yeah, I mean, okay.
Now we're cooking with gas. That's all you need to know. Is like
this is why it's like it's Flash Gordon Part 2. It's a Dino De Laurentiis production. I forgot. Yeah, and you know what? I'm gonna have to watch this old Dune again because this isn't even like, this is like the theatrical version or whatever. There's like a super long TV edit where it's got like a whole prologue of like these paintings talking about the Butlerian Jihad and stuff. Because, like, again, all these Star Wars things, but, like, part of the backstory of Dune is, like, there's this, like, robot war that happened in the past where, like, you can go online and there's, like, a thing that tells you how you get from today to Dune, like
Wow.
with every step of the way.
Whoa.
And it says that, like, you know, it's kind of, I mean, oh man, if this is going to be like a 6-hour Dune episode or whatever, but like, it's like, you know, it's having different years, and then it's like, okay, the Roman Empire conquers the world. And it's like, oh wow, that's interesting. And they say, like, the Roman Empire doesn't fall, it just keeps changing capitals. So then, like, the capital of the Roman Empire, you know, becomes Germany, and then the capital of the Roman Empire becomes Spain, you know, the Spanish Armada, and then the capital of the Roman Empire becomes England in, like, the time of, you know, like, colonializing the Americas, and then it's like, and then the capital of the Roman Empire becomes the United States of America, and then, you know, and like, so that's, you know, it's like that, it creates this kind of, like, historical context, but it takes you, like, all the way from, like, modern day into Dune. But, like, one of the prologues to Dune is that there's this, like, robot war, because, like, robots are doing everything, and then the robots rebel, and there's this big war, and so then after that, robots are illegal. You can't have robots anymore, and that's why you have the mentats. Instead, they learn to, like, condition human beings to be able to do, like, the kind of computations that previously a robot would do. And again, that makes me think of, like, the Clone Wars or whatever. Because, like, remember the Clone Wars? It was kind of like, robots versus clones.
Yeah.
You know, it was kind of like, like they had robot, what would it be? Robot combatants, which after the Clone Wars, like, you don't see in Star Wars anymore. Like, you don't see, like, armies of robots anymore in, like, you know,
in episode 1, those robots were the first, whatever the heck those things were. That was, like, the first image I saw of episode 1.
Mm-hmm.
What were the? I don't even remember what those.
Nerdbots. I think they were called nerdbots because they looked like nerds, and they had, like, mullets and glasses.
And the cool news bots.
You know what they looked? You know what they looked like? They looked like the robots in the prequels looked like Eugene from Grease, the nerd from the movie Grease. You know, but yeah, those robots. So but anyway, they start off Dune, and it's, like, narrated by Princess Irulan, and you're kind of like, oh, why is she narrating? And like even in the 80s one, they don't establish it, but, like, in the book at the end, after Paul Atreides fights Fade Routha and defeats him, it's like, oh, is he gonna, like, kill the Emperor now? Like, he's got, you know, he's got the Emperor at his mercy. Is he gonna kill him? And what he does is he comes up with, like, a very political solution. He's like, no, I'm not gonna kill you. I'm gonna marry your daughter. So Paul Atreides marries Princess Irulan, and so she becomes the person who kind of, like, tells his story. So that's why she's the narrator at the beginning of this movie. But, like, the end of the Old Dune movie is awesome. They left that bit of information out, you know, just to make, like, a more effective ending or whatever. But, like, that is a nice bit of information that would have kind of tied things up, and then you'd be like, oh, that's why she's narrating this whole story.
Right there, like, just these sets here, like,
you know what?
Give me a break.
This is it's like
Look at this.
It's like our talk about the Flash Gordon movie, because it's like, it's an Italian production. It's like, it's Nana's living room. You know, it's like this Italian, like big, you know, go big or go home kind of stuff. You know, gold plating on everything, like, you know, shitty taste. You know, and like all these, like, the widows with with, like, elaborate, shrouds and things.
They're having the Feast of the Seven Fishes.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's like a Euro trash production, and I love it.
I love it.
Yeah.
Delicious. It's delicious.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, the crew speaks. There's nobody that speaks in. So,
yeah, exactly.
Full Italian and crew.
Everybody. Yeah, exactly. Like, craft services is out of this world. You're getting like eggplant parmesan, and, you know,
that you got to go through a translator to communicate with that grip over there. with
with
Mario, the grip.
Every actor speaks a different language, and then it's just, like, dubbed. Like this opening scene in the Old Dune, like, there's nothing like that in the new Dune, and it's just so great. This, like, big giant weird looking, like, tub gets wheeled in by all these like cyberpunk Matrix rejects, and then they're like talking into this big like 1930s microphone. It's
And look at this. They're on the soundstage. Looks like 5 football fields long. It's like, what if they took over Pinewood Studio?
Yeah.
Or like, everything's
So
happening on
over
the
the top.
set. It's like, we should do when we do the Total Recall Film Festival. It's like we're showing Masters of the Universe, Flash Gordon. This, it's like
Yes.
the gaudier the soundstage, the better.
Yeah, this is like the road not taken, because again, like Star Wars just had like a classy look. It looked it was tasteful. Like George Lucas is not Italian. He's whatever, like or something.
Ate spaghetti off a paper plate, in a A-frame tank top with a gold chain.
Yeah.
And you got your jewelry on and your boxers, but you.
Yeah, like this is like again, it's but this, I mean, to me this thing ages well. Like you can't forget it. It's nightmare fuel. It is nightmare fuel.
Delicious.
Like, nobody's
great.
going home and having nightmares after the new Dune, but like this,
Yeah, the new Dune. I mean, it's great director. But it's a little antiseptic.
I don't think they even showed the Emperor in the new one.
I can't.
Yeah, I mean, again, like, look, you're making they made a movie. It was a good movie. That you did it. You got to do it your own way and stuff. It's just like it's a tall order.
Look at this. Holy shit!
It's insane. It's really insane. I love the worms were pretty cool in the new one, but like, man, that like iconic worm design with like the 3 mouth thing on the
or Cal McLaughlin having to rip his scales open.
Well, he's gonna get to do that in part 2. He's gonna get to like ride on a worm. But I thought like I knew it wasn't gonna I knew it was part 1 of 2. But I thought like they'd at least get him riding a worm, and then that would be like, and then like part 2, Paul Atreides will return in 2025.
Dave Bautista, it's like, I promise he's gonna do a Bautista bomb in the next one.
I mean, I'm shocked. I thought this was just one of those deals where they filmed the sequels, the movies back to, and maybe that was the plan. Maybe like after COVID they had to like stop. I don't know, but like that's
Old Spice. Did anybody do that joke yet?
Right? Yeah, Old Spice. Yeah. The spice and the worms and the spice are connected.
Look at this. That's so awesome. Everybody looks great in this. Like,
yeah, great both movies, great cast. But yeah, this
something else.
Yeah, this movie. Like I said, like I hadn't seen this movie in a long time, but like. I went in the theater and wasn't expecting to, but I took this movie with me. It's like you just had the side by side, and just all the color, like just so much color.
The sandcrawl, the Jawas, they're getting out. There they come.
Yeah, you got sand crawlers. The sand crawlers really look like sand crawlers in the
new one.
It was
look at these graphics.
Yeah, like in like the extended, I wonder if that version is even on HBO, but like in the extended version of this, like for the prologue, you're looking at these like amazing paintings that are kind of like look like the robots and stuff.
I want to see that. Like, is that the direct?
I forget what it's called. It was like the TV. Maybe it's called the director's cut, but it was like the TV edit. It was like 4 hours long or something. They would show it in parts, but it was like much more extended. And it would run on TV like all the time when I was a kid. I love this scene when because in the movie, in the new movie, it was just Gurney Halleck. It was just like what's his name?
Timothy Chalamet.
No, the son of who's the son of the famous guy who's married to Barbra Streisand.
Oh, Josh Brolin.
Yeah, Josh Brolin. Like it was just Josh Brolin, just Gurney Halleck that comes in that scene and trades him. But then in this one, it's like his 3 uncles come in. His 3 uncles, and like they're all like weird. He's got 3 weird uncles, and like he loves that, and like they he's the apple of their eye. Like they're all so proud of him and stuff. And they're all
I go to the Fantastic Sam's with my eyebrows like that. I'm like, can you do anything with these caterpillars?
That's it. Like, just see it. Just knowing that Dino De Laurentiis and like David Lynch hates this movie and like and so it probably was like one of those things where like De Laurentiis was like sticking his nose in everything. But like it is like I feel like De Laurentiis.
That's what
exactly. It looks like your three Italian uncles coming in.
If we were funding like. Say we go back to 84 and are funding a production, we would have to make sure, like, we get our ace director and we get Dino, but we make sure Dino is meddling. We want him in the mix for like Dino. He's like, I learned my lesson. It's like, no, Dino, go down there and like tool around, fuck with him, like bring your people into the set to like.
We got all this paneling, and like again, it's like like he knows contractors that can,
get your crews in and make his life miserable, and we're gonna get something like this, like.
It's a lot of like just like like knowing about David Lynch and stuff and like his process, and he's like. He's heavy into like transcendental meditation and stuff, and he's like one of those guys who's like he's talked about his process and stuff, and he's kind of like all about like just like letting things be what they're gonna be, and so there's a lot of like weird decisions, even with the acting, with the and like like a director can kind of like encourage that kind of thing. A lot of weird decisions made, but it's like David Lynch, like he kind of let things be what they were gonna be, and so like. You didn't end up with like a movie that's like, that is like, surefire hit or whatever. But you end up with something that is like eternal. That like is never like, this movie will never go away because it's so fucking weird. Like because of all the things that made it flop back in 1984 are exactly the reasons why like it's never going away. Where that like the new Dune is cool or whatever, but it's like. It's like it's kind of like it. I've seen a bunch of movies that look like that. Like again, it was a very accomplished version of that thing. I mean, look at this. Like Paul Atreides fighting these like this. That's the remote that Luke Skywalker is fighting with the lightsaber. Yeah, all practical effect. Can you imagine a movie that? I mean, I think. The shields might be CGI. Maybe not, but the shields kind of look like Tron era CGI. But everything else is...
We'll never get like... He's like... I'm like, Dino, you're... He's like, Dino's driving me mad. He's got his... He's like, he wants his catering company. He wants his set dressers. He's like, he's telling me what to do.
Even like the thing of like Star Wars being like a perfect adaptation of Dune, it's like, okay, it's like we're Americans, okay? We can't relate to these like aristocracy, kind of thing. So it's like our hero, he's got to be from like a farm. He can't be like some like European aristocrat. He's got to be from a farm, So that's the edit that we'll make for our Dune adaptation. That's like how you end up at Star Wars,
A farm boy.
Yeah. Duke Vito Atreides.
Don Vito Atreides.
that hair, that Kyle MacLachlan hair, it was kind of like everybody in like an 80s sci-fi movie, like because that's like the Last Starfighter hair.
You're right. Is that
a helmet?
Is that a helmet?
That's a helmet hair. Like you don't see anybody with that hair anymore.
No. Yeah,
I don't think you can achieve that kind of hair.
No, that's got like a polyurethane like shell.
Yeah,
and it was lowered onto his head.
You know what? There's probably like product that like is no longer approved by the
recalled.
EPA, that you'd need to achieve that.
They use it to like put like paint the outside of a submarine or something.
Now, Sean Young in this, we love Sean Young.
Yeah,
but Paul Atreides' mom. The lady Jessica in this, she's got the Sean Young Blade Runner haircut. Yeah,
it's like, yeah, you're right. And then Star Wars, it's like we're gonna twirl the hair on the side. we have to twirl it in the middle here.
Now, this scene, the Gom Jabbar, and you put your hand in the box. We're going to find... Are you insinuating that the son of a duke is an animal? I'm insinuating that you just might be human. He puts his hand in the box, and he's in all kind of pain. And it also reminds me of Lou Ferrigno in Hercules, and he like puts his hand in that thing, and his hand turns into ice and catches fire. But he puts his this is a super scary, super disturbing scene. You're like totally freaked out. His hand starts like oozing and stuff, and you're like, oh my god, this is fun. In the new movie, pretty mild. Like again, like
he's like.
Owie!
He goes in this one like he's there with the box and he starts unzipping his pants. She's like, no.
And the gum jabber, that little needle is like so much scarier here too. And it's like a little more, it's like a little more practical, like because it's got this like silver cap that goes on her finger, and then the needle, and it looks like it would be very easy for her to tap. In the new one, it was like this weird looking awkward needle that she's holding.
She's like, if you pull your hand out there, I'm gonna jam it into your neck.
Yeah, and it seemed like there were a couple parts like already in the new one where it's like, oh well, just the way he's turning his head, he's already jabbed himself.
Step one,
like look at that when you see like his hand melting and stuff. This movie's a homer. Like David Lynch, if you're like hopefully by now you've like made peace and you're like, oh wow, I created a one of a kind classic going in like, you know, the whatever.
Total Recall Hall of Fame.
I was going to say just like the movie hall, like Total Recall Hall of Fame is the highest honor you can get. But
yeah.
Whatever, you know, the what's it called, like the Museum of
television,
film and television or whatever.
The archives.
Yeah, like this is, you know, if you're making like a time capsule of like the great movies, this has to go in it.
Yeah, like she's like, step one, cut a hole in that box. Step two, put your junk in that box. It's a dick in a box. She's like, he's like,
yeah, that's it. That's
you're not supposed to put that.
That's like the Flesh Gordon, like that's the porn parody of this, where he like puts his dick in the box and it like starts catching fire and turns into ice and stuff, and then it's like, your dick is unharmed, it is perfectly intact. If you remove your dick from this box, I will jab it with the gum jabber. Sean Young looks younger in this movie than she was in Blade Runner, even though this movie came after Blade Runner. I think it's probably like just, you know, she had that kind of like 1940s kind of haircut in Blade Runner, so it kind of aged her up. Where in this, you know, she's
blue
playing like
eyes,
a younger character.
maybe.
Yeah, she's playing a younger character too, so like, yeah, it probably is like the hair styling, because they, you know.
Kyle MacLachlan, she's like, you've got a helmet on your head? Oh, it's a hair. It's your hair. It's your hair.
All the, like, the part two, you know, like the second half of the movie gets like shortchanged in the original, which is why, you know, it made sense to like, okay, we're just gonna make it a two-parter. But like the second half of the movie gets kind of shortchanged, so like, you know, it's a lot of like montages and then like a couple like kind of like cool scenes here and there, but mostly like montages where like it would have been better to like kind of let things play out. So like Chani, Sean Young's character, and Zendaya's character in the new movie, like, you know, all, you know, she's part of like the second half of the story. So like, you know, so she, unfortunately, like Sean Young gets a little shortchanged in this, and she gets like shortchanged within the story too, because like in the book, like, you know, she's like the love of Paul's life. Like they are soulmates, they love each other. But just like how Paul's mother, you know, didn't get to marry Duke Leto Atreides for political reasons, you know, Chani never gets to be his wife for political reasons. Like he has to marry the daughter, the princess, the daughter of the emperor, for political reasons, and so, you know, so, and like a lot of, you know, sort of sadness and tragedy, you know, comes about as a result. Yeah, that stuff, Gady Prime is so awesome, and that stuff looks like it's straight out of like The Wall or something. That's like mouth, and then yeah, here's Chucky. Like I was so excited when I found out that he was Chucky. Like I learned that like just like 2 years ago maybe, and it's like, oh my god, yeah, because I was like, man, that guy's familiar.
Nightmare fuel.
Yeah. Those eyebrows and stuff.
He's doing my like monologue when I go to the laundry.
Yeah, the juice creates stains. The stains are hard to remove.
By will alone, I'll remove these stains.
Yeah, this
is a the automatic laundromat.
I was like the guy. They have like their ears sewed shut, and Yeah, and like pulling the like plug out of people's chests and like blood shooting everywhere.
There we go.
So
Oh
good.
god.
Look at this. Look at this guy. So like, think about Soren Skarsgård. How like he's like in a haze. You can like hardly see him, and he's just like kind of like, you know, there's like nothing on. You know, he's got some like circuitry in the back or whatever. And then you see this guy here. You see Baron Harkonnen here, and you're like, you want to vomit.
Oh
Looking
my
at him.
god.
So gross. Like this, you know, like everybody's a ginger, and it just, you know, makes it extra weird. Like, why is everybody got the same? Like, it's kind of like, you know, he's like the leader on this planet, and he's like, you know, like he'll kill you as soon as look at you. So like everybody starts dyeing their hair the same color, you know, to kind of like
Look what the cat dragged in.
Yeah, yeah, you're Sting and Raban, Fade and Raban.
What a set too!
Yeah.
Holy shit!
And the color, it's like Wizard of Oz, this like green, you know, Emerald City kind of stuff. And look at this guy. Nobody was stomping around, you know, chewing up the scenery. Like there's two big scenery chewers already in here, and but they're not stepping on each other's toes.
No.
They each have like a different energy.
They're
like
complementing.
Yeah.
If I was in a projection of something, I would literally start eating the scenery.
Yeah.
I don't think
And that it does look delicious. It looks
I know.
it looks like a lime
like,
Jolly Rancher or something.
They're like, this guy's eating the scenery. No, literally, he's putting Tabasco on it.
Yeah, and this guy, he's got like this drink where he like squeezes like a rat or something, and then
fucking
drinks the juice.
Christ.
Yeah,
Foul! Look at this sweat, flop sweat.
yeah. So again, it's like, you know, David Lynch with the help of Dino De Laurentiis makes this like insane movie, and then it's like you're hired to make like a remake more or less, and it's like, you know, you're not going to say no, but like this is going to be like overshadowing, you know, everything you do.
Early Botox.
That's what it makes me think of, you know, like injecting poison into your face.
There goes a piece of
the KFC. Like, I mean, obviously, like I don't think, you know, you go like the director. I don't think you go into one of these being like, oh yeah, I hated Dune. It was a shitty movie. I'm gonna blow it out. Like I think it was kind of like, I think he went in like sort of loving the old Dune, but being like, okay, I'm gonna make my Dune, and like there were some missteps with that one. I'm gonna figure it out and stuff. But like the music was the part that seemed like he was like paying tribute. It had like a very kind of like electronica kind of thing that felt like it was paying, and maybe there might have even been some like direct musical cues that were like referencing this. Yeah, like this guy, like, and this is like he was like all over, like, you know, the ads and stuff. You'd see this guy, and it was like, what the fuck is this?
Going on?
Like, especially,
oh
like,
my god,
yeah, like I was a kid, and it's like, yeah, this is probably like the worst of the movie is like this scene here. And again, you're introducing your bad guy, man. You know, what a home run. Yeah, like,
like
what a home run. For like, you know, like
just foul.
Yeah, like the worst villain you've ever seen, maybe.
Everyone's got the reverse mohawk.
Look. You know, Sting is just like making these like weird faces.
Nothing is like. There's no like safe place to go in this. Like,
right.
Everything's just foul.
Yeah, like, and that's a thing that they established really well in this one. That I don't think they established as well in the new one, but like a little bit, but not as well as the old one. They established like how dangerous this world is, like the politics of this world. It's so dangerous, and like everything is like, you know, like looking behind your back and thinking 3 steps ahead, and like somebody could imitate my footsteps and that kind of stuff. And then like, you know, this is, you know, don't tell anybody. This isn't a secure channel. Don't tell anybody that the Duke's on this ship, and you know, or the thing like, again, you know, and these things were in both movies, but like when like the doctor is trying to adjust the Duke Leto Atreides still suit. And like when she goes to do it, you know, like everybody pulls out their knife, like to her, like, hey, don't go near the Duke and stuff, you know, and that was in the old one too. So it's like, you know, just like a stab. But I feel like like even more so, this old one really establishes that like this is like a paranoid, ultra treacherous universe. He's got this like little pug dog, and I'm like looking at the pug dog trying to see if like it's got any kind of like cybernetic. Look at those big like doors on the spaceship, like these big super gaudy Italian looking doors on a spaceship.
I got my guys coming down. He's gonna bring these doors down. They look amazing.
All this gold leaf.
Gold. You got two big doors coming down. The inlays on these are beautiful. I can give you a good price on them.
This like Nana would love this spaceship.
I got plastic over plastic the couch on there.
Slip covers on.
When we get to Arrakis, we're gonna have the feast of the 7 fishes. Nobody pulls the wool over the eyes of an Atreides.
Yeah, I think the Atreides are Greek. They are in this. They are descendants of the house of Atreus, which I think was Theseus's father was Atreus, if I'm not mistaken. But like, I think maybe that's part of like what the bullfighting was about. Was kind of like Theseus versus the Minotaur, and it was maybe like a way of establishing like that Greek mythology. I don't know. Like the bullfighting thing kind of stuck out because they kept like hitting it.
They did.
And I was kind of like, okay, what's that about?
Oh God.
Yeah, this creature that has like a prolapsed anus, and it shoots a laser out of its prolapsed anus looking mouth, and then it shoots a laser out of its like literal prolapsed anus.
It's like Spaceballs alert, like a giant preparation H cannon pops up and aims and then shoots at it.
But yeah, this is how you go through space. Like I was wondering, like watching the new one, I was kind of thinking like, what if? Because like there's like a plot reason why the spice is so important. It's so important. It's like this hallucinogen, but it's also like required for space travel because you don't have like computers that are calculating this stuff. You have these like evolved like brain creatures that have to calculate all this crazy stuff to like do so like you need this hallucinogen or whatever to do it. So that's the spice is oil, kind of thing. But I was thinking, like, what if in this universe they kind of threw out that and we're just like the spice is just a hallucinogen, and it's and it's like if it were just purely a hallucinogen, and then it's like because there'd still be like fighting over it would still be this like valuable commodity that would cause people to go to war and stuff, but it just wouldn't be as like. Okay, well, I mean, it's recreational, and you need it to power your spaceship.
It's like we're out of gas because Paul just snorted the gas tank.
Yeah.
Because like he's at his desk with like an M16 and a grenade launcher, and he's like, don't get high off your own supply, Paul. The city in the new, like the city's super cool in this old one, but like the city in the new movie was super cool. Yeah,
I mean, just really, like I really liked the new one. It's just like it's in the shadow.
This exists.
Yeah, exactly. And like I went home and like rewatched the old one, but then I also rewatched the new one, and like the new one like really paled. Not on the big screen, like I mean, it would be really interesting to see the old one on the big screen because the new one is so reduced watching it at home versus watching it in the theater, and this thing is like so like in your face. So it's like imagine that on a big screen, like you might melt.
What an experience!
Your eyeballs might melt.
And also I might have to take some spice.
Yeah, right. The spice sounds so good. Like I picture the spice tasting like brown sugar or something.
I was thinking cinnamon.
Yeah, cinnamon, brown sugar. Like
you see this so in the theater, and you see an eyebrow the size of a VW bus. I'm like, oh my god!
You know what? They need to serve like churros or something at the theater, like something cinnamony and brown sugary. To chomp on while you're watching.
Dude, I'm gonna have to whip up some like a Total Recall dessert.
Yeah. Yeah, the like some kind of like Dune themed spice dessert. Yeah, like because like a churro could be like a sandworm or whatever.
Oh,
you know?
there we go.
Sandworms with some
Sandworms.
put some gummy worms in some brown sugar and cinnamon mix. You know, some ginger snaps crumbled up in
good.
it. You said you had some questions about like the worms and the spice.
Oh yeah, is spice like the poop from the worm poop or something?
I mean
like?
that sounds kind of cool and sounds like a possibility, but like and more on pee and poop later, but the spice is like when a worm dies, its kind of body becomes the spice, but there's poop mixed in there too, I'm sure. So
nice.
but that the worm shitting the worms, the spice being worm poop kind of reminds me of the Futurama episode where they have that thing like don't ask about oompa loompa doompa dee deedient, don't ask about the secret ingredient. And it was like this like factory where they're making like they make some kind of like soda or something, and it's actually like the secret ingredient is like these like alien slugs like just taking radioactive shits in the vat.
Like the spice is like in the air and it's like just in the sand.
Yeah.
And they have like to filter it out.
Yeah, but it is like like when a worm dies, its body like becomes the spice, and that is what the worms and the spice are connected. That's the connection that like the worm, because like in the book or whatever, like it's kind of like, okay, the planet Arrakis, it's got this thing called the spice and it's so awesome, but then there's this nuisance on the planet Arrakis, which is these giant worms that keep getting in your way as you're trying to get the spice. But then like you learn that like you can't have one without the other.
They like said the worm was like 400 meters long, and I was like, I converted that to feet. It's like 1,300. I was like, holy shit, that worm's so big. I'm so scared of it. I was like,
good on you for doing the math.
I was like, because I was like, damn, these things are huge. Because nothing's scarier than like an under the sand fucking creature.
Well, yeah, that was in an episode of The Outer Limits with Adam West, where he's on this planet of like under the sand sharks. It was like these sand sharks that attack him. And you know what else it made me think of watching this was our episode about the Empire Strikes Back script by Lee Brackett, where the Wampa kind of like burrow through the snow and like go through walls and stuff, just like the worms.
Dude, Dune gets 2 thumbs up.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. And like before I ever read any of the Dune books, like, and what kind of got me to like want to read them is like this like older kid in high school. He was like talking about, he was like a huge fan. He's talking about them. He's like, yeah, and then like he kind of told me the whole story, which is fine, but it was like, because on Arrakis it's like this desert world. And you got the worms and you got the spice, but then they start to like terraform Arrakis and it becomes like a green world, but then when it becomes the green world, like all the worms die and like you don't have the spice anymore.
That's what they were saying. Like they had the underground like plant that they were trying to like they free the water from
get it to kind of grow.
But they said that they put a stop to that because they don't want to lose the spice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it never rains on Arrakis, and then the end of the movie it rains. That's like the big miracle. Yeah, and I guess also like the idea of like this like religious messiah who's like, like a religious messiah who's also like a political figure, also because like Paul becomes marries the emperor's daughter and for all intents and purposes becomes the emperor of the universe, the god emperor of Dune. Here we are, born to begin. Yeah, this is practically a sequel to Flash Gordon.
Yeah, it's Total Recall. It's like, oh my god, are you going to the Total Recall Film Festival? There's Masters of the Universe, Swamp Thing, Flash Gordon, and Dune. Like,
we gotta get this thing going. We gotta rent like a Holiday Inn ballroom or something, and have like the Total Recall Film Festival, and like I'd love to sit down and watch like a nice print of all those movies.
My god!
Although we'd be doing digital projection for budget reasons.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'd love to see a print of this.
We would say like I'd have to. I'll write on a little piece of paper and say like we wanted to have film. Like,
but yeah, any other? All the technology, all the machines in the 80s Dune look like hookahs. They all look like you could get high off of, which makes sense, in this movie that revolves around like a drug.
To my little friend. That is a blown out pile of lettuce on McLaughlin's head. For a second, like I at the corner of my eye, I thought it was Colonel Potter from MASH.
Doesn't this movie look like $1 million? Because like I don't know that I've ever seen Dune on like DVD. Like I think anytime I watch Dune, it would be on like a VHS, and
gorgeous.
Probably not widescreen. It looks amazing. This print. It's like when we watched the Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, where it's like, okay, here's like a way you've never seen this movie, and like this movie's never been seen like this ever,
Dude, Conquest of the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Man, funky sci-fi movies, man, all about him.
Dean Stockwell.
Dean Stockwell's so good in this, yeah, and especially like knowing his character from Quantum Leap, like it's a very different character. Like he's very kind of stoic in this and very reserved, and then his Quantum Leap character, he's like a party guy. He was like the fun one on Quantum Leap.
It's like he's like, can you get Chris Christopherson? They're like, nah, he's not available.
They need to get Sam Beckett to like leap to Arrakis.
We've been watching a ton of Quantum Leap recently.
Have you? I haven't seen it since it like originally aired.
It's fucking great.
Yeah.
He leaps into McLaughlin and he looks up in the mirror. He's like, oh boy.
Yeah, I gotta watch that too. Okay, so I mean, there's the Sandcrawler. Let's wrap it up.
We did 2 full Dunes.
Yeah, we did. We might be able to break this up into 2 episodes because it's over an hour and covered 2 Dunes. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you've been, it doesn't get more. I mean, coming soon, a video where we go through all the Dune Star Wars similarities.
Yes.
Just like this quick rundown of like boop, 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 boop,
Dune
boop.
Wars.
Yeah, Dune Wars. Yeah, Star Dune.
Star Dune.
Man, the practical effects.
Look at that.
You know what? You can't compare your like amazing CGI movie. Just cannot compare to a practical effects movie from the 80s.
That's like one of the tenets of David Lynch alert.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't care how chintzy something might be. If it's a real thing in the frame doing something, like, give that to me every time over, like, your, like, butt CGI. Like,
when I was a kid, like, so of course, like, they wanted this to be a Star Wars, and it wasn't a Star Wars. So, like, but they had, like, action figures and stuff. Like, I didn't have a Paul Atreides action figure or anything like that. But, like, since it was such a bomb, like, the sandworm was at the dollar store. Like, the sandworm, which probably would have been, like, a $20 toy or whatever, was at the dollar. So we got the sandworm. We had the sandworm. We had the sandworm. We didn't have any of the other toys, but we had the sandworm. That was just, like, too cool not to have for $1.
Things, probably a collector's item right now.
Probably.
I'm the Shadow Mapes. I'm the housekeeper.
With some great line deliveries.
With will alone, I'll set my mind in motion.
I'm the housekeeper.
I feel like they like put that thing in of her saying the housekeeper. It's like a joke or something like see that in like the Brady Bunch movie or something like Alice, the housekeeper. But yeah, so you've been watching the Total Recall episode of Dune, Old and New. I'm Tom Scioli, author of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics, and Fantastic Four Grand Design.
I'm Matt Zeoli.
And you can follow me on Twitter at Tom Scioli. Check out my Patreon. Go to patreon.com, search Tom Scioli, and follow me on Instagram at Tom_Scioli.
Follow me on Instagram at cinema_tomb. Did you know the worms and the spice are connected?
They're connected, yeah. It's like, again, like I was worried about spoilers because like everybody was talking nonstop Dune, all week, and I was like I read the book, I saw the movie. I don't what spoiler could there be? But I guess like the things that seemed kind of like spoilers were like everybody was saying like, oh my God, Jason Momoa is so good. Oh, he's kicking his ass as Duncan Idaho. I'm like, I would have liked that to have been like a pleasant like, even though I know that Duncan Idaho is a character in it and that he fights a bunch of guys, like I would have liked that to be like a pleasant surprise when I saw it. But that's fine.
Even
that spice looks tasty.
I gotta make that spice dessert. They're like Bill Bixby. Oh, comic book.
And that's the thing, like with Star Wars, that was kind of smart because it's like Luke was like he was a farm boy, he's just but like this part was cool in the new one. I mean, this is super cool. But like this little thing, and again like so effective in the theater because like that little thing that was flying around was like
so
super
creepy.
Tiny. So yeah.
And they said that the assassin like they blocked him in like 6
cement,
weeks.
Yeah, like the cask of Amontillado or something. He's like cemented into the wall.
Yeah, it's weird when they freed it. He was in a jester's outfit. Like he's like,
I'm just glad. What's it called? That from the cask of Amontillado. It's
Fortunato is the guy.
Fortunato, but it's like he was like Harlequin or something.
Yeah,
it's like I'm just glad both of these exist, and I want them to do the sequel, and I want it to be as cool as possible, and then have this like big, mega movie that tells like the whole like Dune book. I guess like kind of comparing the two, it's kind of like the old Dune was kind of like an old comic where like everything's like over explained and like the colors real like in your face and flashy and it's like a little hokey or whatever. And then the new one was kind of like a new comic where it's like a little more like less is more and kind of like lets you figure stuff out for yourself and doesn't over explain everything. But then like you end up like not having as much information in it because and you end up having to get it to be continued because you can't like squeeze all the stuff in one.
Dude, 284 like what? Like What? Like
you got to turn up the sound for this. You got to check. This is.
Linda Hunt,
the house.
She's the principal in Kindergarten Cop. She says that line to Schwarzenegger.
Imagine like David Lynch going on a Dino De Laurentiis production. Like, man, what a...
Wish I could have been like just hanging around the set during that.